Hi, my name is Mikhail Gunderson. The topic I've chosen to discuss is Pakistan's education system. I think this is an important subject because there are many things Pakistan can do to improve their current school districts that can help decrease the population illiteracy percentage and help them grow as a developing country. Let's first start by looking at how Pakistan's schooling system differs from other more developed nations. How is Pakistan's education different from the rest of the world? For starters, the Pakistani government doesn't seem very committed to using their budgetary expenditures toward improving the school and tertiary education. As of 2017, about 2.6% of Pakistan's GDP spending has gone toward education. Compared to other countries in Asia, governments like India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh are spending less toward education than the ideal standard. When comparing Pakistan to a developed higher-income country like Israel, we see an even bigger gap. Halil Dundar, an author from the World Bank, said, "The poor quality of education in South Asia is a major obstacle to the region's future economic prospects. Raising education quality in South Asia is an urgent priority that could transform the region's economic landscape." There is also a division between urban and rural education regarding schooling opportunities for youth. How rural differs from urban education is by the schooling conditions, the lack of adequate resources, and lower enrollment rates. Good education is more accessible for young people who come from families of a higher social class where parents can afford to enroll them or send them to study abroad, while poorer families in rural areas are less likely to enroll their children. This is especially prevalent among young girls from poor families that are discouraged from school admission. Instead of school, girls are taught to become good housewives so they can marry into a family with more money in the future. Some young girls have even been pulled out of school to get married against their will. Further examples of gender bias in education can be seen in vocational institutes, where girls are taught to do things pertaining to housework, which in turn impedes their eligibility to become future income earners. Some women in Pakistan that were dependent on their husbands and are now widowed may not have the chance to remarry, thus making it difficult to become stable providers for their children. There have been many famous activists that have spoken out against these types of injustices. One of them is a young Pakistani woman by the name of Malala Yousafzai, who has been a strong advocate of education for all children. She spent years speaking out against the Taliban, and she fought for education reform. From this she gained a lot of bad notoriety from the Taliban, which led to an assassination attempt on her. Fortunately, she survived and still fights for the same cause today, eventually earning herself a Nobel Peace Prize. Malala witnessed the destruction of many school buildings during her childhood. Schools in Pakistan that have been destroyed by extremists. There have been instances where some extremist ideologies have even been taught within Islamic religious schools or madrasas. Most madrasas are peaceful, but there are those few exceptions that aren't. These radical madrasas have had some connection or role in extremist attacks due to the indoctrination of young children in Pakistan, and most notably in places such as Indonesia and Malaysia. An example of one of these schools is Al-Islam, which was founded by the father of 3 main bombers of the 2002 Bali bombing attack. If Pakistan cares about the future of their youth, then they must start by eliminating any and all radical theology from these types of schools. One of the proposed methods for combating extremist propaganda and brainwashing such as these is establishing peace education organizations within the school's education systems. This will help form an atmosphere of peace and tolerance within schools. While Pakistan may have a problem with radicals teaching students, it also has an issue of teachers that can't teach, period. This is due to the lack of experienced teachers and lack of strict teacher training. In addition to that, the facility conditions of many schools are also very poor. In 2016, out of 150,000 plus schools that were observed, only half of them had basic infrastructure necessities such as boundary walls, electricity, water, and toilets. From that same number, 11% of the schools didn't even have one of those necessities. Even today, in Pakistan, a lot of schools' curricular involves teaching unnecessary subjects and outdated knowledge. Students need contemporary education that is relevant and useful for modern living and career opportunities. Students need comfortable and positive environments for healthy learning and development. So why is this important, and what could it mean for Pakistan's future? It's important because right now Pakistan has a very low literacy rate that's been steadily declining. Every person should have the option to gain an education, increase their chances of employment, and become a contributing citizen to their society. This is what spurs societal and economic growth within a nation. It starts by preparing the future generations to have their own bright futures. It starts by educating our youth.